We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
Welcome to the RedAssPodcast, your home for Aggie sports, barbecue, music, and much more. And now your hosts, Rob White and Roy May.
Howdy, guys. Welcome back to the RedAss Podcast. Today is January 30th. I cannot believe it's already the 30th. This year is flying quick.
I think it drags coming out of the holidays because it's so hard to get back into the motivation of working. So the days can kind of drag. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I really got to work and I really need to be motivated about working and I need to get back into the swing of things. And then all of a sudden you just kind of hit like hyperdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you go from wishing it was still the holidays to, oh crap.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it feels for me, at least.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. But I am Rob White, fighting Texas A class of 2014.
Yeah, and I'm Roy May, fighting Texas A class 2015.
We're real happy to have y'all back here on the podcast today. We got a little bit to get into as far as some shooty hoops and some other fun stuff. But yeah, I figured we'd just go ahead and dive right on in. So we've got ourselves basketball. Keep on rolling along right now.
Yeah. After a really kind of poor loss, quite frankly, over the weekend on the road in the Moody Center, it's a crappy way to lose, and it's just compounded by the fact that you lose to your rival.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you look at it and realize that you just did that to Ole Miss. Kind of staying in the game and just kill them right at the end with the dagger right at the end.
Right.
We're not going to dwell on that game. It's so far in the past, and quite frankly, I'd like to keep my blood pressure down.
Fair.
But you get OU, second part of the 1-1, home away with OU,
Yeah.
and play a really really complete game, quite frankly. Free throw shooting out of the blue, one of the best, if not the best, free throw shooting performances, I believe, of the year.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. I think we talked about it. Basketball, it can be such a streaky sport, and when guys aren't making free throws, then others. I don't think that it's contagious in the sense that the others start missing free throws too. I think they pressure themselves too much. They're like, well, I can't miss mine now, right? And so it just kind of compounds that way. But to go out and just absolutely dominate OU on the boards, like just absolutely dominate them. You had more offensive rebounds than they had total rebounds.
Yeah.
You're not a great shooting team. You're just not going to be. I heard Jay Bills this morning talking about it. Like, you don't shoot from behind the arc real well. You don't shoot real well from inside the arc. You don't shoot real well from the free throw line. But we're gritty. We hustle. And rebounding really that's one of the easiest metrics to show. Hustle. You got to want to rebound. That's what made Dennis Rodman so good. Is he wanted to be a great rebounder. He didn't care about any other aspect of his game, but he wanted to rebound and he wanted to command a presence down in the post. And he wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the biggest, but he was the baddest. And so to see that, it's just sheer effort. And so it's absolute vintage, buzzball kind of stuff. It's so great to to see that and see the effort really rewarded. And now you've gone and swept OU for the year.
Yeah, and was it pretty? Absolutely not. We've talked about it all year. One of the things that has been a big pain point for this team has been the field goal shooting. But I will say, when you create those second chances with those rebounds, I mean, yeah, you out rebounded them 47-19 over the course of the game, and offensively, 2 more rebounds than they had total. That's impressive. That's really well done. But I think this was the big key, right? I'm going to look at a couple stats here just because I find them fascinating. But somebody actually mentioned if Texas A&M is shooting their free throws at 75% or better, they win those games. And we have. I mean, we shot 82.9% against Oklahoma. I will take that all day and twice on Sunday. It'd be nice if it could be, 100% all the time, because free throws are free throws. You should take advantage of those. And then
it's never going to be the best free throw shooters on the planet didn't go,
Right. And then if you take the opposite side of that, look at what happened in Austin. We went 3 for 8 from the stripe. We shot 37.5% on our free throws. We make our free throws, we win that game.
Well, and I think you can also add the fact that um, getting to the line 8 times isn't enough for this team.
No, no. What we thrive on as a ball club, at least in recent seasons, has been leaning on drawing those fouls, getting to the stripe, making your shots, making them when they count, and that's what they've done. In some games, like what we saw with this Oklahoma matchup, as well as some of these other ones that we've come back in. But
But then you look at like the Alabama game, and they got to the line a bajillion times and we couldn't
yeah,
hit the broadside of a barn. So if it's got to be volume because the percentage is going to be low, that's fine. But you've got to get to the line. You can't have a low percentage and like 8 trips to the free throw line.
yeah,
So I was obviously incredibly encouraged by how they played against OU.
yeah.
Um, you're right in the middle of that 5 game stretch we talked about. Right now we're sitting at 2-1. So 5-0 is off the table. You can still go 4-1 and it'd be an amazing stretch. You can go 3-2 and be quite fine with it, quite frankly, because that's 3-2. Um, that's picking up dubs on the road, man.
Yeah. And if I'm not sure if you've been paying much attention to South Carolina basketball, but they are streaking bad, really, really bad. They haven't won a game since basically the start. Well, going back to last year, December 30th was their last win. They haven't won a conference game yet.
Well, what's crazy though is that they played some people close,
Yeah, they
and
have.
and that's the one thing is this year in the ACC, the worst teams are like they're still talented ball clubs.
Yeah,
And so, this isn't a take the night off because you're going to play somebody who haven't won in conference yet. That's
no,
and I don't expect them to do I don't expect them to do that by any means. That's not how this team operates. That's not the culture that Buzz has in this program. Um, you just hope they're focused. They don't get sloppy. Getting sloppy on the road can get you in trouble real quick, no matter who you're playing.
yeah.
So, the hope is that you can just get out early, whatever crowd may be there, you take them out of it. I don't know how rabid South Carolina basketball fans are, but I would guess even if they're pretty hyped up at this point, they're not.
Well, I mean, when
Um,
you've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row, that'll wear on a fan base.
yeah, I mean, I get it. And for a school that's not known for men's basketball, at least,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to put butts in the seats for the most part. So hopefully it won't be a real hostile crowd. They'll be able to stay focused, keep from being sloppy. Just another thing that's been happening a lot, and we mentioned this on the fan show. I think it's Philip mentioned it. Is just the fact that we play defense, we get a turnover, and then we turn right around and give it right back.
Yeah.
And so like that's the kind of stuff that's got to it's got to stop, quite
Right.
frankly. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
but you just got to take advantage of it. Buzz's turkeys, get a stop, score, get a stop. Getting a stop doesn't mean giving the ball right back. So,
Yeah.
getting those 2 stops in a row, that's not what was intended with this concept. Um, but again, like what I saw, bounce back game. And so I'll be interested to see how they respond against an inferior opponent. Just I want to see them take them seriously, right? Um, and really just go into South Carolina and do what you should do as the team that you are. That's
Yeah.
really it's all you can ask for. I don't care if they win by 40 or by 20. I don't care. They can win by 10 and I'll be fine. If they could just once take it easy on me and maybe just try and go wire to wire for me.
It'd be
Um,
nice, like have a Texas first half that lasts the whole game. Just do one of those
yeah,
deals.
yeah.
Let's just stay on top of them and bury them because that's the type of team we need to bury. And then turn your focus to what will be another tough road game at Mizzou. Just go out there and do your job back to back this week.
Yeah, the Mizzou game and that's one thing you hope that they're not looking forward, to Mizzou. They're not looking past South Carolina, looking, to Mizzou. Again, that's not the culture that Buzz has here. So I'm not concerned about it, but it's still a thought in your head. You're like, hopefully they're locked in, and that's a fan perspective of it more than anything.
Yeah. And
Um,
then, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna about to flip it over to the women for a minute.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was going to do.
Look at
Um,
that.
yeah, right. They end up beating Kentucky, which is just a fantastic and completely unexpected.
Yeah.
They go on the road to LSU. They get beat up a little bit. Worst part is Koulibaly is out for the year, and
Yeah.
that is going to be really, really tough on this squad.
Hmm.
So they're on the road to Arkansas tonight. It's 6:30. So I'm sure I'll be tuned in. But they're on the road tonight at Arkansas, and then they get to come back home for Texas. It doesn't end for the women either. It just doesn't. Um, so
But get to read in that case. Go out and support the women on Sunday.
yeah, I mean, you'd love to be able to grab a little momentum back and go on the road, beat Arkansas, and then you're coming into that Texas game at least with a little momentum. It is Texas, so you should be able to pack the seats. The students are back. There's no issues. Um, so it's again, I don't say must win a lot about stuff. I don't know it's a must win, but you're running out of games on your schedule to win.
Yeah, especially if
So
you have any kind of postseason aspirations, you,
yeah,
you need to get moving.
we'll call this a pivotal game. How about that?
Pivotal. It's a good word.
Yeah.
Good, healthy
Uh,
word.
yeah, and then flipping over to we're not going to go to baseball yet because baseball's 15 days out.
Right.
Softball
Yes.
starts on the 6th.
Yeah, very quick.
We're a week out from softball.
Woo!
And they start with their Aggie Classic, which they do every year. They got Utah State, Purdue, Baylor, Evelyn Christian, Villanova coming into town. I don't expect any of those to be too much of a problem. Baylor is ranked 19th,
So it
so
should be
at least
good.
you do get a little bit of competition in there. And not to mention, remember, that's the one where uh, they play like basically two games a day for the
Yeah.
whole classic. So it's a lot of softball jam packed in tight, in 3 days.
Hmm.
But just looking forward to them being back in action, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Number 7 team in the country coming in. We're expecting big things.
Yeah. No,
Um,
the expectations could not be any higher. We've said it last couple of weeks, but when you're in that top eight, people are expecting you to do big things. So you gotta like to see what the ladies have in store. You get a couple of matchups against Purdue, and of course you do get that night matchup on Friday against Baylor on the 7th. That'll be a great environment, I'm sure.
yeah, I surely hope it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got some great stuff coming back with Emily Kennedy
Mhm.
and Allie Enright, Myra Perez coming back, Mari Harper, Coco Woolley. I mean, you've got a good core of that team coming back. So this is going to be I'm really looking forward to it. I have really high expectations for this club.
It could be, I'd say, it could be a statement season for them. I mean, the way things are shaping out. I mean, even their non-conference, you've got a lot of really good matchups kind of lined up, and you've got a little road series that you're going to be dealing with down in at Florida State, playing over there in Tallahassee. That'll be really exciting.
Yeah, another one of those classics. Yeah, we always go to the coasts, you
Yeah.
know.
And then down in
Um,
Florida again for that Wichita. We're going to be with Wichita State, UCF, bunch of those. There's so many good games on that early portion of our schedule. And I mean, you even have the likes of, Texas Tech coming in for an invitational later on, and then all of a sudden you're into your SEC play, and
yeah, that'll be
that's
fun.
always so much fun that time of year.
Yeah, and I mean, I mean, we're miles away from SEC play, but
Oh yeah,
that's SEC softball. If you listen to this and you don't watch softball, SEC softball is really stinking good.
it's very good, and it's just got better when you added Oklahoma and Texas. You took the two teams that have been so consistently good at the top, and you've just added them into the fold of the SEC, which was always just a ton of really great squads for
Yep.
softball.
And we got Florida, Bama, LSU, Tennessee. Like those are the powerhouses in the SEC. So it's shaping up to be an absolutely awesome season. Another one of those where we have to remind people that in baseball and softball, losing a game doesn't mean the season is over.
No,
Um,
it's like there's time, people. It just takes a little time.
it's man, that's baseball. It
That's
just
baseball.
sometimes it happens, man. But
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, so it's hilarious because every year it's like softball catches me off guard.
Yeah,
Because everybody's doing the baseball countdown. Nobody really does the softball countdown. And I look up and I'm like, oh crap, they
they're
play
here.
next week. They play next week. Like it's go time.
It's always the week before they're rocking and rolling.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and
So
it
so
works.
good things to come over at Davis Diamond this year. And we've said it plenty, and I'll say it again. If you haven't been out there yet, you are missing out because Davis Diamond is a really, really nice facility.
It is.
So once it warms up, I think it's supposed to be warm next week, actually. So it might
Yeah.
be shorts and t-shirt weather for some games, but if you can get out to the diamond and see see the ladies before they start getting in SEC teams here in town, and you can't get a ticket.
Got to jump on those games, especially now. And I know baseball season tickets are obviously flying. Single game tickets are flying. Uh, all I'm saying is it's probably a good thing that the series wasn't in Austin this year for two reasons. One, Schloss probably has a chance of leaving the stadium with at least not having his tires slashed or anything crazy. That's probably a bonus. But secondly, he's not going to have like we're not going to have to deal with what those prices for that Texas game are going to be because that series in 26, ooh boy,
Yeah.
should be very interesting. But we got plenty to get into with baseball pretty darn quick. We're obviously excited for that, and with softball right around the corner, it's going to be good times.
Yeah, softball's knocking on the door. So there's a lot coming. This is the time of year, once baseball and softball start, you still got basketball going. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is damn near every night you can catch sports between baseball, softball, and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
that's
did.
it's exciting time for me.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great time of the year, and I'm certainly pumped for it. So we did fire out questions a little while ago. We got one in, and it's from our friend Jonna. She did ask you maybe a nerd question. So feel free to tell me if it is.
It's a nerd question.
It's a nerd question. So just clarification, it is a nerd question. Sean Frazier, 80 at Northern Illinois, was quoted talking about a talent acquisition fee for college athletes, similar to the English Premier League. What are your thoughts?
Man, the way I look at this stuff is I don't think anybody knows exactly where NIL is going to go in the future because of the way it started and rolled out. It had no direction, right? There was really no way to know how it was going to work in the beginning, right? And it ended up working how we thought it would. It was pay for play, and then so they decided to try and reel it in a little bit, and so now it's more structured pay for play is all it is. Um, but transaction fees would be interesting because you're not talking about being able to use university funds.
Right.
So you're talking about collectives communicating together
Mhm.
and and what that ends up being is almost a second level of management over a football program that isn't the football program and they really shouldn't be hanging out a whole lot together, which is basically why we don't why the university dollars can't be spent. Now, I mean, if you think the big donors aren't talking to people, I get it, but or really if the coaches are going to the big donors to pull it off. So that communication is obviously there. Um, I'd be shocked if it ever got to that kind of setup, would be a nice way
Mhm.
to put it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know like I'd see it because if you start going down that road,
Yeah.
where does it end? I mean, do we have players out on loan for a year?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, right? If you had a guy, who you bring in as a freshman, and maybe some other team could utilize his talents, you send him off for a season, like,
Yeah, does he take all online classes so he's actually like going to school at Tennessee but playing football at Texas A&M?
yeah, like
Honestly, I mean, is that even off the table? As ridiculous as all this has been?
no, that's the trouble. When you're in the Wild West, nothing is off the table. Like
There's no rules.
there are no rules because they haven't bothered to set them yet. I mean, it's no different than if you look at like what happened with the scholarship restrictions that took place in the 70s. One of my favorite little stories about the University of Texas that they hate. If you look at Texas's history throughout the 50s and the 60s, they would just throw absorbent amount of money at any potentially good player in Texas just to make sure that they were on campus in Austin and not in College Station, not in Fort Worth, not in
Yeah.
Waco, not in Fayetteville. They made sure that the top talent in the Southwest Conference was all in Austin. Then 72 came along. Scholarship restrictions got put into place, and all of a sudden that A&M Texas series got a lot more balanced. Isn't that funny?
Well, I think I mean, not just that series either.
No, not just that one.
It really did change the landscape of college football,
It did. And
introducing scholarship limits and what's funny is they introduced scholarship limits, but they did nothing to curb any of the spending money under the table.
no, because I mean that just got worse and worse and worse, especially getting into the 80s and the early 90s. You just kept seeing it happen, and anybody who's fully aware of the SMU situation, that was certainly something.
Yeah. Gold Trans Ams, baby.
Gold Trans Ams all day long. Eric Dickerson, I swear to God, you should come to College Station one time. Let's do a series with SMU. Please drive up in a Gold Trans Am. I would holler if you did that.
It's so hilarious that that's literally become like if you say Gold Trans Am to Aggies up to a certain age,
Yeah.
that's the first thing you think of is SMU
Yeah. You think of
and
it, SMU, you think of Eric Dickerson.
Pony Excess.
Yeah. Literally, Pony XS. What a great name for
Oh,
that documentary. And what a
oh,
great documentary.
just nailed it.
Oh, and it's excellent. And I love the fact that they had all of these talking heads from like Dallas Morning News and all this stuff because it was that's how the all this information was being communicated at that point. It was via the newspapers in Texas. And holy cow, what a story. What a crazy story for any of those who aren't aware. But yeah, to that point, but to answer the question on my end, it's certainly an interesting thought process about talent acquisition fee. Just if for no other reason, it. I think anything you can do within NIL to encourage players to stay where they're at is a good thing, because just having people kind of up and jump, every season to wherever they feel like they need to be, it gets tiring. It's like you can't get attached to players. You can't get, they don't really have that soft connection with the school. You just kind of look at them as a hired gun.
Yeah, and when all the dust settles, after what we're talking about, reality is there's until there are no academic sanctions,
Yeah.
then a lot of this is there's nothing you can do about it. So you start talking about transfer fees, loans, like until college football breaks away from the NCAA,
Yeah.
like that'll never happen. But if they do that, then this is just another professional league is all it is. It's the NFL minor leagues. It's the farm clubs for the NFL, and it has nothing to do with school. And they will have officially ruined the sport if something like that were to happen. And I understand they're talking about, you need to break away from the NCAA. If they can do it in the sense where they still tie these players to being students,
Yeah.
um, that's fine. But if you move to a level where, you know, the academic sanctions are so light that you don't care, then you want to talk about Wild West. It's just the minor leagues at that point. It's no fun.
Right. And I mean that's the thing we've talked about is just kind of the amateurism disappearing from college sports which was the main reason why we loved it from the beginning. Because
Oh yeah.
these guys are all fighting, for a limited amount of spots at the next level. I mean, you go from high school where maybe like one or two guys from a high school, just your average run of the mill high school, one or two might get a scholarship to go to a big D1 school. And even of those big D1 schools, you might be lucky and be one of the three or four that gets drafted out of any one class.
Oh yeah. The percentages as it comes down all the way down to
Yeah.
getting to the NFL are just minute. It would be a nice way to put it.
Right. But, when you get to college, having the opportunity to at least capitalize a little bit and make some money. Yeah, I totally understand that. And I think it's a perfectly good way to make things work one-on-one with the player. But man, it's just you're getting to the point where you're seeing these 1-year deals. Like the idea that Quinn Ewers was being offered how much money? $6 million for one season.
Well, and we talked about that. Like that was unsustainable.
Right.
If you're throwing around really big numbers like that, you're doing it for 1 year, which, speaking of that, if I'm an Ole Miss like NIL donor, like what the hell just happened? Like they gave Lane all the money in the world and he didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be the question that's going to get raised quite a bit is, are these big spenders really worth what they're spending? I mean, you could look at them, frankly, you could look at us. You could look at a lot of different schools, but, the amount of money that's being funneled into college athletics, and if you're not in one of those top 12 slots and you poured a certain amount of money into it, it's your season's going to be viewed as a failure in the eyes of everybody who put that money in.
Well, and what's crazy is you think about the last couple of seasons Lane Kiffin has had, he's been kind of on the cusp, right?
Yeah, been
They
close.
don't And then the donors just dump a metric crap ton of money into this NIL pot, and he gives them the same results.
Mhm.
Stuff like that is how coaches get fired even after good seasons, because that's an element we have to start thinking about. All right, if the NIL ponies up all this money and you don't pull it off, like we gave you the money for you to, all you had to do was get over the edge. That's really
Yep.
where he was with
Top
that
12.
program. They gave you money and you didn't pull anything off. Like you basically gave them the same product with all that money. One of two things happens. That money's gone and it ain't coming back. You're not that well is dry, or there's going to be so much pressure for them to be like, we'll give money if you fire Lane because we gave him money and he couldn't pull it off. And we all saw the roster.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting point as it relates to the coaching side of this,
Yeah.
is how much power are these collectives going to have when those situations arise. Now,
Mhm.
do I think Ole Miss is going to fire Lane Kiffin? Hell no.
Not
Ole
anytime
Miss
soon.
is not some perennial blue blood that expects to be in the playoffs 4 out of every 5 years. But man, they gave him the keys to the Ferrari and he ran it into a tree this year,
Yeah.
or chose to take it out for the day and did nothing but drive through school zones.
Hey man, let's not lose to Kentucky. Hey,
Yeah.
let's not lose. Don't lose those stupid games. You've got the talent. Go win those games. It's not that crazy. Looking ahead here, I was actually curious. All right, so big London Derby taking place on the 3rd, so this weekend. Chelsea hosting West Ham. How are you feeling about that match?
Uh, uh. Well, so last match, wildly encouraged by the play that I saw. Still sloppy, but
Sure.
sloppy players are going to be sloppy. You can't teach them to control the ball better at this point in their careers. They are what they are.
They are.
But I just continued improvement, you know, um, just seeing it look like we have a plan,
Hmm.
and that plan isn't just to play out of the back and not possess the ball. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But to go on the road at Villa and pick up a point, I thought was fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And if you can do that with Villa, can you do that with Chelsea? Can you go on the road and pick up a point? And what's funny is the match started, we were doing really well, or excuse me, the match started, they scored early, but then like we kind of settled into the match and we looked really good going on the rest of the match. And quite frankly, a couple of bonehead moves and we pull that one. We literally snatch, victory from the jaws of defeat. Um, so the style of play looks better. So I'm excited about that. Chelsea obviously is good.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no doubt.
yeah. Um, so that's one of these where I'd take a point all day at Stamford Bridge.
Sure.
Like if we can go to Stamford Bridge and grab a point, you know what? I can take that. I can deal with that. No problem. We're currently sitting 14th in the table.
You got a
Uh,
little breathing room.
yeah, behind Palace because Palace smoked us because we played like stupid idiots. But above Tottenham in the
Hey,
table,
you know, and that is so
3
funny.
points above, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, three. Yeah, currently 3 points above them, and yeah, we have ourselves a fun little match with Bournemouth coming up this weekend. Can't wait for that. So we're gonna be on the road, and we just came off of a loss on the road in the Champions League. Granted, finished top of the table there, which is perfectly fine for me. Finish in the top 8. That's all that really matters. Get to the round of 16. But now you're sitting here with a kind of a tricky matchup with Bournemouth, and you're at their place. Just pull
Can,
out 3 points if you can, please.
can we talk about the job that Earl has done there at
Oh
Bournemouth?
yeah,
Like Bournemouth is one of the classic yo-yo clubs in the Premier League.
yeah,
Down, back up, down, back up, down, back up. All of a sudden, their top half of the table is sitting at seventh.
yeah. They're doing
This
great.
it reminds me of, and not that Villa was like a yo-yo club, but it reminded me when Unai Emery came into Villa, and all of a sudden Villa's in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, and they are in Europe, and they're still in Europe because they made top 8, so they're going to be
Yeah,
competing.
it's fascinating what he's been able to do at Bournemouth, which was a club that you kind of thought never would ever get it figured out, right?
Well, and they just took Nottingham Forest to the cleaners. Sorry, G. Sorry, G. Guerreri, but They did get absolutely taken to the cleaners. You lose 5-0 on the road as Forest. Now all of a sudden Bournemouth's feeling a little spunky for this weekend against Liverpool, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past them to go out there and put on a good match. I really do. I mean,
Yeah, and it being at home, Liverpool coming in. I mean, it'll be rowdy. Was
it'll
that
be very
the
rowdy.
Kings Park? No,
Yeah.
Kings
Uh,
Park.
you know, you think I know this crap. Better off the top of my
No,
head.
no, no, no. They're in Kings Park. It's Dean Court.
Yeah, they're at the Vitality Stadium in Bournemouth.
Yeah,
That's where they're at.
yeah. The grounds, I believe, is called Dean Court. But yeah, the
Yes.
Cherries. It's very. I've been impressed with them.
They've been great. Yeah, no,
It's
Cherries have been excellent this year.
just one of those you don't expect it out of them kind of things.
No, I mean it's. Yeah, I love to use this example, but you throw back to one of the greatest like surprise teams that ever won the league. I mean that was Leicester. Several
Yep.
back in 2015 or whatever it was. I mean that was an incredible season from them. Nobody saw them coming, and so it's always cool when one of the quote unquote not big five, big six,
Big
whatever,
six.
big six. I hate including Tottenham with that. That's why I don't like saying big six. But
Well, then if you don't like including Tottenham, why are you including Arsenal?
well, I mean, if we're talking historical, mate, yeah,
Yeah, no, we're talking hardware.
yeah. Well, at least Arsenal has some hardware.
That's true. That's true.
Way
Arsenal
way
does.
more than Tottenham ever had.
Not so much at Tottenham.
New. Tottenham
No,
had
no.
one,
Arsenal's definitely one of the big six. Now
no question.
that's a given. Um,
But it's
but
always. But my point was, I love when teams that are not Big Six break up into that. I think it's totally awesome. I didn't know getting into soccer back in the day. Getting into the Premier League, I had no clue that was what Liverpool qualified as. I didn't know they were like, oh yeah, no, that's like one of the biggest clubs in not just England but Europe. And I was like, well, I mean, I'll support them. Why not? And I've continued to do so. But I will still have a soft spot for some of these smaller clubs. So, seeing Fulham doing fairly well, love that. Seeing Brighton coming up and sneaking on people, love that.
well, and on the flip side, it's easy to hate Man City. It's easy to hate Newcastle because of the money situation,
Right.
which is crazy because I like Pep. I think Erling Haaland is obviously a blast to watch. I really like Kevin De Bruyne. Like
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
a big De Bruyne guy,
sure.
but it just feels like and it's this thing where Everton damn near got relegated because of losing points, and City, what are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah, what's going on with their financial fair play violations? What are you going to do? So
It's a question
and
asked.
that's why the rest of the league hates the Big Six is because the Big Six get treated with kid gloves.
They do. You're
And
right.
Everton, a club that had never been relegated, was on the verge. They pulled it off. Hey, all props to those players and manager for pulling it off. They got docked points to an extent where I was like, holy shit, Everton's getting relegated. There's just no way out of this.
Yeah.
And so I yeah, that's why all the other clubs just get sick of the Big Six. Like part of you wants to say, fine, go to your Super League and go the hell away,
Sure.
but at the same time, I don't want the Super League.
No, and I don't want the Super League. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think that is just so silly. It's like,
I
hey,
don't
let's just have our glorified Champions League every year amongst the top clubs. I think that's silly. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's you already have Champions League. You already have like just
Yeah.
we've already got it. First of all, we've already got enough damn competitions, right?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we
So
do. Too much of that. But, we got about, let's see, you got about 15 minutes to your gun, so we can go ahead and wrap this up pretty darn quick. What do you got going on
dude,
in the
I am
world?
in the absolute weeds right now, man. In a really good way though. I've got some really big let's call it fish on the hook. I've got the kind of clients that I actually can't talk about just yet.
Cool.
So some pretty interesting developments. Still working, getting to and establishing Colleen. I don't know. Did we talk about that last week?
Yeah, we talked about it, and on top
Yeah,
of that, I have a contact for you for somebody who does appraisals out there, and he would love to get in touch with you.
that's perfect. Yeah.
So
So
I will.
it's just building that network. So
Yeah,
we have a bit of an advantage. One of our one of our team members, she was Army wife, so she's got a great pipeline out of Fort Bragg. She's used to working in Army towns, and so she and I are going to team up, and she's going to kind of help me out a little bit, and she's actually part of the Houston team. She lives down in kind of the Cypress area,
Okay.
but so it's just like too far of a drive for her to go to Killeen to
Fair.
make it. Yeah. So we'll be able to team up, and then it's just establishing some rapport. And the thing about military clients is you put them in a house, and in 3 years they're moving.
That's
Like
true.
when the army tells you to move, you're moving.
That's
Um,
exactly right.
you can maybe get a 1 year extension at some post, but that's about it, man. But uh, but yeah, so I just really looking forward to establishing a presence out in Killeen, but also really excited about what I've got going on right now. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're recording so late because I've been working on it for the past hour hour or so with one of my
Mhm.
teammates. It's kind of a collab effort because it's such a big kind of project, but it's a lot
Awesome.
of exciting things. But it's also one of those things where I'm working my butt off, but currently like I don't get paid by the hour, so
Right.
it's all this work and I'll get paid later. Um, but I know it'll all be worth it. I mean, that's part of my industry. Do the work, then you get paid. I'm fine with that.
Very accurate. And in regards to what Roy just said, we are probably moving our schedule up from what we've been doing like Mondays, Tuesdays. We're probably going to start doing them here on Thursdays like we are today, because that's just going to line out better for baseball series coming
Yes.
up. And then not to mention, doing the Thursday before a football game in the fall, like that's a good time to really analyze and kind of pick into this what's going on.
Yeah, and Thursdays will work out well because not only are we able to preview the softball and the baseball series, weekend series, we're past the midweek game in basketball, so we can preview the weekend, game in basketball. And as we get towards the tournament, there'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So it's so we're shifting to Thursdays, and it just kind of works better for both of us too. So,
Yeah, we're gonna
but
make it work.
I think it sits on the calendar really well.
Yeah, so we're gonna roll with that going forward. So as y'all keep up with us, oh, they didn't post on Monday, they didn't post on Tuesday. We're going on Thursdays. But on my news front, so a couple things. This weekend we're heading out to San Marcos and Lubbock. So we will be playing at Cheatham Street in the blue light. We're rolling in the bus. So pumped for that. And not just any bus. We're on Mickey Gilly's bus.
Nice.
Yeah, so the Pasadena Express coming through Cat Spring, headed to San Mo, and then on to Lubbock. Should be a fun weekend. I'm excited. Got our buddy Randy Hoyt kicking things off. He's a local guy out of College Station. If you haven't seen Randy, go out and watch him. He's awesome. Got a nice bluesy sound, but rocks and rolls really well. Two other shows I wanted to talk about that are coming up way off, but will be in May that we actually picked up that I'm excited for. We're doing a festival. It's going to be Dusty Vaquero Days. That'll be up in Gillette, Wyoming. So excited to roll up to Wyoming for that. And then around that same time frame, we're heading up to Montana to go open for Clint Black.
That is sick.
I am so pumped for that. I'm a huge Clint Black fan. I've always loved his music.
Yeah,
You know,
you're gonna get some autograph from me. I freaking love Clint Black.
I love Clint Black. So the fact that we're on his radar enough to get put on a show with him, that's great for us. I mean, and just taking the opportunity to, hey, we go open for him there, make a good impression, maybe hit the road with him for a few more shows. I'm not going to cry about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's a great exposure device to go play with a guy like that. Also, once again, more information for the album coming soon. Carson's going to nail down some details over the course of this weekend, heading into next week. We should have release days hopefully for singles as well as the album itself, and we can really start pushing the marketing for that. And yeah, also new merch. We just got ourselves some new koozies. We got some new stickers that are designed by yours truly, and those are going to be yellow. They say roping steers and drinking beers, and they got like little rope text and whatnot. We got Carson's brand, kind of like a rope, the whole deal. Oh man, like I said, we're leaning into the rodeo thing quite a bit for good reason, and a lot of the shows we're playing this year are rodeos, so got to gear up. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Know your audience.
know your audience. So
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna be doing. Lots of rodeo stuff, lots of other good stuff. We're excited. It's a good time. It's a great time to be keeping up with what we've got going on. Um, Personally wise, everything else is good. Just working. Got music lessons rolling pretty strong. Lots of singers, and on top of that, continuing to learn guitar. That's been a longtime goal of mine to become a better guitar player, and that's what we're working towards. So,
Well, and my pasta making skills are improving. I would like to add. I made chicken marsala the other night, so I'm making all my sauces from scratch now too.
yes, sir. That's
But I will say tonight, not making anything from scratch. For Christmas, I got Megan one of those like Chicago flavors of Chicago boxes. We got two Lou Malnati pizzas, and we got Portillo's hot beef sandwiches. So we're doing the hot beef sandwiches tonight.
heck yeah. So
Yeah,
we
life's
like.
rough.
Life's rough around these parts. Well, we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next few weeks. We're definitely going to keep on rolling here. We thank y'all so much for listening here. Be sure to follow Roy May 15 as well as Roy May Jr. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to follow myself. That's Rob the Slapper on both, as well as follow the Red Ass Podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share it out, because the more that y'all do that, the more we can do this and have fun with it. Maybe get some extra sponsorship opportunities. All kinds of good stuff could potentially be on the horizon. It's up to y'all to help us out. So be sure to help us on that front, guys. I am Rob White. This is Roy May. We are the Red Ass Podcast. Beat the hell out of South Carolina. Beat the hell out of Texas. Beat the hell out of Arkansas. Beat the hell out of everything. Gig 'em. We'll see you next time.
Gig 'em.